Hello, comic lovers. Welcome to the 6th episode of the Boys comic series. In the previous episode, we saw Hughie and Starlight coincidentally run into each other. They both realize that they're unsure about their jobs, but still return to work anyway. On the other hand, the other members of the Boys blackmail teenage Kicks, which forces them to expose the shootout and kick someone out of the team. Seeing this, Homelander realizes that this is the work of Butcher and his team, and he tells the rest of the team members to stay alert. Meanwhile, someone informs Teenage Kicks about the Boys, after which Teenage Kicks go to fight the Boys. Now, moving forward. The Boys are approaching from the other side of the road. Big Game, at the front of his team, says, "Okay, let them come to us. Flyers attack first, and if all fails, we'll show them today who we are, the Teenage." Big Game is about to finish saying his team's name when Butcher suddenly attacks him at super speed, headbutting him in the face. After this, everyone starts fighting members of the opposing team. In all this chaos, Hughie is trying to stay out of the fight, scared, as everything is new and frightening for him. Seeing this, Butcher turns and tells him, "Stay away from them, just handle Cock." Hearing Cock, Hughie confusedly asks, "What?" Just then, Blarney Cock approaches Hughie and says, "He's talking about me, fight me." On the other side, we see all the members of the Boys beating up the supes of Teenage Kicks. Blarney grabs Hughie's face and threatens, "I'll gouge out your eyes and smash your head against the wall." Hearing this, Hughie panics, saying, "No, no!" In his panic, Hughie punches Blarney in the stomach, but due to the compound fight and his fear-induced lack of control, Hughie's punch is so powerful that his hand goes right through Blarney, killing him instantly. Seeing this, all the other members of the Boys and Teenage Kicks are shocked. Butcher says, "Hughie, you weren't supposed to kill them." Seeing Butcher distracted, Shout Out attacks him with an electric shock, but it doesn't affect Butcher. Instead, Butcher gets even angrier and in his rage breaks both of Shout Out's hands. MM and Frenchie are helping to remove Hughie's hand from Blarney's body, as Hughie is completely in shock. MM says, "Don't look at him. Take a deep breath. This happens. You're just not used to seeing it. We know you didn't do this on purpose." Then, a panicked Hughie notices a hamster tied to Blarney's waist. Hughie says, "We need to help it." MM responds, "I'm not touching that nasty thing." Hughie insists, "We can't just leave it." At that moment, Female brings a sword-type weapon and frees the hamster. Hughie takes the hamster in his hands. Just then, we see the police arriving. Butcher shows them his CIA card. He then comes to the Boys and says, "Hughie, come here. The rest of you get in the car." Butcher then adds, "Oh Hughie, now they'll hold a funeral." The scene changes to the Seven's headquarters, where Deep, Homelander, Black Noir, and Jack from Jupiter are standing. Jack says, "They weren't this public before. I mean, fighting on an open road in front of flyers. This means they're not the same as before." Deep responds, "I doubt it. By the way, since we're talking about this, shouldn't Queen Maeve be here too, like in the old days?" Homelander replies, "Her Majesty is above all this. Until she wants to get involved, we won't call her. As for the Boys, whatever condition the other members are in, Butcher alone is dangerous enough. That man fears no one. If you don't believe it, ask Lamplighter." Homelander then says, "Get ready for the 6 o'clock news." The scene changes to the Boys' office. MM asks where Hughie is. Butcher explains he's making space for his new hamster and that he'll meet him later. Butcher adds that Hughie should rest alone for a few days, as they got too loud this time. Mem then asks who might have told Teenage Kicks about them. Butcher says he's wondering the same. MM suggests it could be Kessler, but Butcher dismisses this. MM then suggests Raynor, which makes Butcher pensive. The scene changes to Victor Newman, also known as Vic the Veep, at Blarney's funeral. He gives a speech praising Blarney as a true hero who risked his life daily fighting bad guys. We then see interviews with Big Game, Shout Out, and a Vought spokesperson, all praising Blarney. Big Game lights a torch on Blarney's statue. Finally, we see Hughie and Butcher watching all this on TV. The scene changes to Hughie and Butcher in a park. Hughie tells Butcher, "I can't stay here. I murdered someone. I know it was self-defense and I didn't mean to, but I still did it. It's not that I want to be punished or that I'm eager to see an American jail, but I also don't want to be involved in things where I do this and still get away with it." Butcher jokingly responds, "Well, you know I could make a call and you could still go to jail." Hughie angrily says, "I said I don't want to." Butcher interrupts. I'm kidding, friend. Then, more seriously, Butcher continues. I'm not going to stop you. I always said this would be your decision. But I will say you're making a big mistake. Hughie asks. Why? I mean, what's so good about keeping an eye on these supes? Blackmailing them, scaring them. What difference does it make? What do you get out of this? Why are you so fixated on this work? Butcher responds. Because one of them raped my wife. Hughie is shocked. Butcher continues. She never told me herself. I read it in her diary. One night when I woke up, something like a baby was coming out of her stomach. Something no normal woman could carry. I had to kill the baby with a lampstand. Butcher shows Hughie a mark on his hand saying, See this? It's from that baby's heat vision. Butcher adds, I loved my wife very much. Hughie, her name was Becky. She had changed me. I know who did this to her, and one day he'll be in my hands. Hughie asks, Who? Butcher replies, One of the big supes. Butcher then explains about the casualty allowance for supes, which confuses Hughie. Butcher clarifies that it's a limit given to the police technical unit. If 20% or fewer people die in any case, no one loses their job. For supes, the limit is 60%. When Hughie asks why, Butcher explains that supes aren't well trained. They're just novices who decide to do this job. They have no licensing authority. Butcher asks Hughie if he's ever wondered why the police, White House, or even the military don't stop them and instead let them do all this. Hughie says, maybe because they're afraid of them. Butcher responds, and that's where we come in. I won't lie to you, Hughie. This won't be the last time you'll have to kill someone. That's the rule of this game. Did you see Vic the Veep at the funeral today? Hughie nods, and Butcher continues. Look, it used to be simple. Big corporations helped supes, and we kept an eye on them for the government. That hasn't changed. But now the lines have shifted. Dakota Bob hates supes. He knows how dangerous they are. But Vic the Veep is a Vought man. He actually ran Vought Company at one time, and they got him the ticket in 2000. This means we're just one bad day away from having a supe-friendly president in the Oval Office. Hughie asks, and that's why you want me to stay? Butcher replies, I think you should stay because you're good at this job and you've come to like it. After a pause, he adds, besides, I could use a little brother too. The scene changes to a media conference where Homelander is addressing reporters. He announces that Starlight, the new member of the Seven, will make her first public appearance today, replacing Lamplighter. Homelander calls Starlight over to show her new look. We see Starlight in her new costume. Homelander then says, We want to remind everyone that protecting you is our duty. Remember, we are the Seven, and we'll always be here for you. With that, all members of the Seven leave. Hearing this in his office, Butcher comments, Off they go to make the world safe for white folks. MM responds, I know it's weird coming from me, but don't you think at least one of them might have their heart in the right place? At least one supe must be good. Butcher makes a strange face and says, even if there is, to hell with them too. So, this was the final issue of The Boys Volume 2, Cherry Conclusion. In this volume, we saw that the Seven and supes are quite the opposite of how they're portrayed to the world. We also saw that both Hughie and Annie are unhappy with their jobs, but they're unable to leave them. We also saw that supes have connections to high positions in America. If you liked the video, please like, share, and comment on what you thought of this volume. You can also support us on Buy Me a Coffee. If you enjoy reading the Boys comic, you'll find the correct reading order in the description, where you can buy the Boys comics and get an idea of the correct reading order. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe and hit the bell icon for the latest notifications. Thank you for watching, comic lovers. See you in the next video.